And I do have one little question for you too, in regards to, because you brought in movement phrases to share with the group, because part of what we wanted to do is also invite people to share your phrases. And did you come up with that? Like, how did you come up with your movement phrase that you brought to the group, or was it something you spontaneously brought in after, like, through the day? Or I'm just curious about that, because I didn't ask you at the time. I just said, who has movement phrases? And people would raise their hand, and then at one point it like chew up, like, okay, Theresa, what's your phrase? You know, like, and then we'd all like jump in and do it. Yeah, so I just like, with that invitation, I'm curious if you prepared something, or how you prepared
that. I would say that I think mine was sort of a phrase that had come out of something I had done before, but not exactly. So it had a basis in something that maybe I had taught in a class, or some choreography that I'd done before, but just like a skeleton of it. And I think after seeing the repetitive movement that we were doing that day, I think tailored it to sort of what we're doing. But I do feel like it was quite dancey compared to some of the just simple movement we were doing, like the shaking or stepping forward and stepping back. And so I wasn't really sure that that it would fit or if it would go, but I thought they asked for a movement phrase, so let's go for this. I think I also I'm a modern dancer now. I haven't always been, but I'm very connected to the ground and to the earth. And there was something also about the Shaker village, and that was very connected and rooted into the earth and the spirituality, that I just felt like I wanted to connect to the ground. And so my phrase had a lot of the rolling or the inversions, and there was just something that wanted to do that. But then I remembered after doing it that there's a lot of physical exertion of going down and up and down and up, and I was just like, well, maybe this was a bad idea.
It's one of the ones that really brings a very interesting rhythm visually in the piece, the inversions, because of the way it kind of interrupts a lot of the other phrases that are happening more on one visual plane, right? And so you have all these bodies kind of arcing down and then up, and like where it's just the feet, just hands, just feet, just hands. And so I actually really love what that particular phrase like brought in terms of the edit, I think. So it's not too dancey for me.
And for me, honestly, I don't even remember what phrase I contributed. Which is very interesting, because I believe that what we had that day was it was something that we created, and it would be possible to recreate again in the same way. And it was something, I guess, a phrase that just appeared at the time, being surrounded by the other fellow dancers and by you, by the beautiful nature, the beautiful setting, and in a way the way the village has been preserved. It was very easy to just imagine that we're 120 years back during that time. And that sort of, I think, helped whatever movement came out to come out at the time. And it was really, yeah, it was.
I will say, I believe you created the jumping phrase, which I know challenged a lot of the performers, but also there's some of the most beautiful smiles and like almost like ecstatic moments in the video in that phrase. And we did take liberties of cutting up people's phrases and putting things together and mixing up so that it is less discernible whose phrase is what. I will say that I love that aspect of it as well, having the different backgrounds, so that it's not my aesthetic, it's not Mariam's aesthetic, it's not like the aesthetic that we've like made as our collaboration. It looks like nothing I would ever make as a dance piece. It looks, you know, so it looks somewhere out there, as opposed to something that I would hold so close in my idea of what choreography should look like from it, like an aesthetic point of view. And then it gives so much more freedom then in the art, the piece as it exists in the world, because I'm not so attached to this ownership of aesthetic. and it looks like nothing I could ever make on my own. And that's because of you guys. So I love that. And I really appreciate your presence and your contribution.
Did we actually intercut their two phrases?
Yeah.
That's amazing. I had not put that together. But yeah, your two phrases are intercut in the video, in fact. So that's incredible. Just like have you two here right now. And the jumping also, like it produced that amazing photograph where everyone's like off the ground, which I love. And there's just like, there's a moment like late in the jumping in the footage where everyone's like so sweaty and so tired, but also like so ecstatic in this way that I think really connected to the Shaker experience, as I imagine it to have been, because we don't know, we don't have records of what those meetings were like, really. But that's what I imagine them to have been like, you know, where the movement just got you to a place, right? Yeah.